A lot of agents I call cancel expireds or for sale by owners, they'll do the initial call, but then they don't know when to follow up. They don't know how to follow up. And that's not like their main process. Everybody that I've coached in my group coaching, they start doing the follow-up system that I have in place. They're like, dude, this is amazing, because they're following up with them timely. They're following up with their cancel expireds. And it's just been really beneficial to my team and to the coaching students that I work with.
Are you looking to set more listing appointments? Perhaps you think that you're setting appointments, but they're not really going anywhere. You're meeting with the clients, they're not signing, or maybe they're just ghosting you. Well, on today's episode of Vulcan7 Coaches and Mentors, we're bringing back someone that's an expert when it comes to processes so that you can be more effective with setting these listing appointments. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on today's guest, James Michener. So welcome, James.
Good morning, Loida. How are you doing today?
Doing great. And I'm really excited about this topic, setting listing appointments, because I think especially now with how things are going in real estate, we're seeing a lot more agents want to go after listings. So obviously setting listing appointments is key. So I know that before we press record, we were kind of talking about, sometimes agents don't have the right process. So maybe we can start with that. What does that look like?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and this is a good topic. Tuesday, I set 2 appointments. Wednesday, I set 4, and then today I set 2 as well. And so the process goes like this, right? I'm all about follow-up calls, and I think that's the majority of my set appointments is through the follow-up calls. So 90% of them are going to be that and 10% might be the initial call, right? For me, I use the cancel expireds, for sale by owners, for rent by owners, and so I hit those as much as I can. And what I'm trying to do is just build up my follow-up calendar in Vulcan 7, but I get those into my calendar. And I was actually doing a training with my ISA because we just weren't setting as many appointments. I'm like, just watch me do this, right? So I did the cancel expireds with her first, and then some for rent by owners. And I said, hey, we didn't get any appointments, but we got to build out our calendar for follow-ups. And then I said, watch this. Now we'll set appointments, right? So we called 30 contacts that were in our calendar for follow-up, and I set 4 appointments that day. And she's like, dude, that's amazing. I'm like, well, yeah. I said, do you hear my tonality? Like, it's easygoing but confident and asking tons of questions. One lady said, no, we're not ready. We're kind of maybe holding off. And then I started asking more questions, and eventually it led to, well, we are considering it, but maybe not for a little while. And I said, well, when would be a good time to come over? She said, I guess we have availability on Friday, actually, and we might want to be moving a little sooner. So I set that appointment. But it comes through setting your process up for canceled expireds, for sale by owners, for rent by owners, and then your website leads, and transferring those over into your follow-up calendar. There's days where if I don't have enough time to do all my canceled expireds, I just hit my follow-up calls. And that was like today, basically. I just didn't have time to do that because I was running a little bit behind. So I just set up my calendar, opened it, and started calling through it, and set 2 appointments from just doing that process over and over and over again. So persistence pays off.
Yes, and that's awesome. And I'm glad that we're talking about follow-up, because I feel that sometimes agents, they're just wanting to get that person that's going to say, yes, come to my house tomorrow at 5. And then they forget to just follow up because they're not focused on that.
Oh, absolutely. Tuesday I did that. So I have a guy that wanted to interview me, and he had a friend, which I didn't realize was a real estate agent. And 141 days ago, he ended up listing with that friend. It expired, but I had followed up with him every once in a while. And he had emailed me like, hey, I chose to go with such and such, and thank you for your time. I'm sorry about all this. And I just said right back to him like, hey, no worries. I totally get it. I would go with my friend too if I felt comfortable. But if anything changes, let me know, right? Well, I didn't burn that bridge, right? But I kept following up just every once in a while because his girlfriend is a really good friend of mine and my wife's hairdresser, right? So I just say, hey, Bruce, how you doing? Good, touching base with him. And then he ended up calling me after that listing expired. I ended up getting an appointment with them, and I ended up listing it, and they had it at 608 for the price. I brought it down to 550, which he felt more comfortable with, and he liked all the advice. And then I helped him get contractors in there. So when I'm setting those appointments, I'm trying to see what exactly they need help with and offering a vendors list, right? Because the more help you can give them and the more you can empathize, that's going to build your trust with everybody. So the second one, it was an agent who actually builds spec homes, and he had reached out to me a while ago, and he's like, hey, I might want to list this $1.1 million house with you, but I'm not quite ready, but maybe follow up with me like in 2 or 3 weeks. I followed up with him in 1 week, and I followed up with him the next week, and then he wanted to get a stager. So I called him and I sent a group text message with my stager and him. They signed the proposal. I called him right after I saw the group chat where she said, thank you for signing the proposal. Called him, and he ended up listing it with me that day for 1.60 million, which was awesome. So 1,060,000, sorry.
Yeah.
But that was all through follow up, right? Like I wasn't going to wait for him to call me back. I was going to continue to follow up and see what I could do to help him to get him ready for that process.
And it's great also how you are involving others that might possibly be able to help them in
Yes.
their home. So
Mhm.
contractors, whoever it is. And I love that you do a group text because now you can see what's going on and if they
Exactly.
actually end up connecting to the other person. And in this example that you just gave, I mean, I would have been excited too when I'm like, okay, she just said that he signed, that contract. That means he's like serious. Let me, reach out and see what I can do.
Absolutely. One other thing I would say is if you're calling cancel expireds for sell by owners and for rent by owners, is make sure if you don't have that much time, but you have enough time to do your follow up and maybe some other calls, just hit the brand new ones that come in because those guys are going to be more likely to list sooner than your older ones that are you haven't been picking up or whatnot. So you hit your newer ones and you try to build rapport, put those into your follow up system or set the appointment right then. But I always wanted to try to be like the first or second agent that ended up calling those leads because after a third or fourth, it's like, oh man, another real estate agent, right? And so you build that rapport, that trust, then you put them into your follow up calendar, and then you follow up with them persistently with that. And then I want to show you one other thing real quick here, because this is what I send to them after I'm done talking to them. Perspective. It's a clients. It's a text. I can't find it right now. Let me see. Anyways, it's a text that I send that has my Google calendar, my Google reviews on it, and then a YouTube video that we've done as well. So as soon as I get a really good call and it's set up for follow up, I send them the Google reviews to get, and then my YouTube video. And I would say 10% of the time they're like, "Hey, I watched all that. I looked at your reviews. You actually worked for one of my friends. I called them and they're ready to go at that point." So giving them as much information as I can in the beginning and then slowly following up with them, which is a basic call. If you want me to do that with you, I can too, because a lot of people have questions on that.
Okay. Yeah, we can run that through if you want.
Okay, so this is going to be a follow up call. So ring ring.
Hello?
Hi, good morning, Loda. It's James Michener. How are you?
Oh, hey James, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hey, I was just following up about the house on 123 Main Street. Any progress with that, or are you looking at listing it anytime soon?
We're still talking about it with my husband, but at this point, we do want to purchase, but the interest rates are high, so we're really not sure on a time frame.
Okay, absolutely. Have you guys talked to a lender by chance?
No, not really.
Okay. One of the things I could do is connect you with a lender that my team uses a lot and I use personally as well for when I buy properties. Would that be something that would help you?
Well, I don't want to feel like I'm committing to something right now because what if the numbers don't work out? I don't want to feel like, I have to now sell my house.
Oh, no. And I completely get that. A lot of times the pre qualification is good because they'll tell you what the rates are and then what the payment would be for the house you want. And then if there's any credit repair you want. So, really, it's just like doing a quick conversation with them to kind of see where you're at. That way, you know if you can actually sell the house and move to a house that you want to in the price range that you have. And it's free. They're not going to run your credit really. They're just going to look and ask questions and try to get things going for you on that. Would that be
Oh,
something
okay.
that'd be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying that they're not really gonna do like a hard pull on my credit, I don't see why not.
Yeah, yeah. So what I can do is I'll start a group chat with you and Steven and get that over to him, and then get an appointment set for you guys to talk to him on the phone. Again, it should take like 10-15 minutes, and if you don't want the credit ran, you don't have to do that, but he'll just ask a bunch of questions to see exactly where you're at in your process. When it comes to the house, is there any work that needs to be done or any kind of pre-listing stuff that you've been wanting to do that might be holding you back?
No, not really. About 6 months ago, we remodeled the kitchen and the bathrooms,
Uh-huh.
and we just put some brand new landscaping. So the home is pretty much turnkey, ready to go.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, if there's anything you need, handyman work or whatnot, just let me know. I'll connect you with Steven as well, and then I'll try you back in like 10 or 14 days. Does that work?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. All right, Loda. Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So it's
Okay.
something super easy with that. And if they don't want the credit pulled, I just send a text to Steven like, hey, I'm going to send you a client. They don't want the credit pulled, but they do want some information on it. And they want to look to see if there's anything holding them back or what the price point would be and the interest rate at this time so they can get ready to sell their property and buy one as well. And he's like,
Okay.
totally cool. It's just starting the introduction, right?
Yeah,
And letting them know that I have vendors that can help them and just trying to be as helpful as I can throughout the whole process. That way I build the trust and I'm the one that they want to work with. Because what you'll find is a lot of agents I call cancel expireds or for sale by owners, they don't do the follow up, right? Like they'll do the initial call, but then they don't know when to follow up. They don't know how to follow up. And that's not like their main process. Everybody that I've coached in my group coaching, they start doing the follow up system that I have in place. They're like, dude, this is amazing because they're following up with them timely. They're following up with their cancel expireds. And it's just been really beneficial to my team and to the coaching students that I work with.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
for like the expires and the canceled, let's say you call them, but you don't set an appointment on that first call. Typically, what are they telling you in terms of time frame? Or maybe are they just like, no, 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 we don't want to meet with anybody? Like, what are they telling you? And how do you know, okay, I'm going to follow up with them like on this day?
That's a great question. So a lot of people will have what's called like listing fatigue, right? Where they've listed the property, they're showing it, they're just kind of tired of doing all of that. So I usually give them a couple days in between, maybe like 3 to 5, and call them back because the truth of it is we all have bad days, right? So maybe they're just going through a bad day. They're getting all these calls, and I know that in a week or so, a lot of those calls are going to drop off. It's like people that go to the gym the first of the year, right? You'll get like, I don't go for the first like 3 weeks of the year or 4 weeks because it's like too packed. But I know in February, everybody's going to be 90% of them are not going to be going, right? So that's the same way when it comes to prospecting as well. So if somebody tells me that they have listing fatigue or they're just going to hold back, again, I'll call them in 5 to 7 days. But what I try to do is get their information so I can email them what's called HomeBot so that they're getting a monthly email on what the home value is. If somebody's like, we're going to wait 3 months or so, I call them again in a week, see where they're at, and just kind of fill that out. And it might be every 7 to 10 days because they told me that they want to hold off, which means they want to list the property, right? They're getting bombarded with calls. So I just got to give it a little bit of time for them to calm down, ripen, fruit on a tree, right? Ripen, and then I can pick them easier that way.
Mm. So let's say, I assume as you're talking to them, you try to dig for motivation to see if they are actually a serious seller,
Yeah.
or if they, because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, call me like in 2 months, especially if it's like maybe like a for sale by owner,
Yeah.
but you could do it sooner.
Yeah. My my first conversation with them is what's holding you from working with the real estate agent? Is it because of the commissions? And generally it's yes, right? So if it's yes, I go, what's the number that you're looking at net after if you pay a buyer's agent and the closing costs? Is there a check that you want to walk away with at the closing? And they're like, yeah, it's, $100,000 is what I want to get. And so I run the numbers in my head and on my phone while I'm doing it. So I'll subtract the commission minus the closing costs, and the list price and see exactly what we would get for them at net. And if it's like 125, which I just got a listing last week by doing this, I'll say, hey, if I can net you that or more, would you be willing to work with me? I'll take on all the marketing. I'll work for you completely for free until we get an offer. And if you don't like that offer, you can say no. Would that be something that I'd work for you if I can get you that net number or more for you? And a lot of times they're like, well, yeah, let me think about it, right? Then I follow up in like 2-3 days at that point. Or I say, okay, great. I know you want to wait a week or two, or you want to talk to your wife. Is there a time I could come over today or tomorrow and just look at the house and drop off my information? That way you guys have more information to be able to make a decision. And I always try to get the preview appointment with them, because I know if I get face-to-face, it's much harder for them to say no. I think that they'll like me. I can control the conversation a little bit more, build rapport based on what's in the house, their likes and dislikes, and really get to know them.
So I want to ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
So let's say you have set the appointment. Yeah, James, come over Thursday at 5. My husband's going to be here. We're all blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Leading up to that appointment, do you send anything for them to review?
I usually will sell them my Here to Help email, which has my marketing plan, marketing stats, my Zillow profile, my realtor.com profile, my Google reviews, and then my YouTube video, so that they can see that. I'm not sending them a CMA unless they're really pushing it, because I don't want to lose that appointment based on a CMA that I sent them, but their house is in better shape, or they didn't mention that they had an add-on, so I don't want to lose the appointment, so I won't send them that CMA. And yeah. What was
So
the
how
second?
about for the day of? On the day of the appointment, what do you usually take?
Yeah, great question. So I bring all the listing docs. I bring my marketing plan, the county website printout, their old listing printout. Even if they bought it like 6 years ago, right? I want to bring that so I can compare what they've done now to how they bought it. And then I bring the CMA and those listing docs again. And it's so funny because so often I'll do my closing, right? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, we would like to go. When do you want to set up another meeting? I'm like, oh, I actually have the docs right now if you want to go. And they laugh like, oh my gosh, you did come prepared, huh? You were ready to get this signed. And it's like, well, I don't want to waste any time. And if you're ready to go, I wanted to start working for you right away. So that's what I'll bring. And I always put it in a nice folder too.
Okay.
And come with the Padfolio also that I carry around.
Do you have like a certain amount of days? I don't know. Maybe you've talked to them on a Wednesday. Will you set the appointment for like a day or 2 days later, or depending on how hot they are, you're just like,
I'll
I
get in
need.
the same day if I can.
Okay.
I'll just email my assistant or one of my team members and say, hey, get the CMA ready, get the listing docs ready. We're going to go see this house in 2 hours, right? Even in an hour, if it's close enough to me. And then they'll come, they'll bring the stuff to me. I go to the appointment, nail it down, get it scanned in, take my copy, send them their copy, and I'm good to go at that point. But I try to get in the door as fast as I can.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
let's say you're at the appointment, you went over everything. I know probably a lot of agents get oh, well, you know what? We want to think about it. We want to take some time to look at everything that you brought over.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we get that response, a lot of times it's because maybe I wasn't clear enough in like some of our marketing or the pricing. Was all the marketing good? And did you like the pricing?
Yeah, but we're actually talking with other agents, so we just kind of want to compare and see what everyone's doing.
Oh, and I completely understand. If I was able to get you that price though, and work with you on commissions or get it sold in this time frame, would you be willing to hire me? And then what I can do for you is I'll call those other agents that you have set up and I'll say, hey, you guys can bring the first buyer. We got the property listed. We'll be on in 2 days. Would that be something that would work for you? And I'll handle those calls so you don't have to cancel them yourself, because I know that can be super awkward, but I'll take that off your plate.
Well, we just want to make sure that we're making the right decision, and that's why we want to at least take the next 24 hours to
Yeah.
think about it, and we can get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah, that works. I'll give you a call first thing in the morning then. So I'll end it at that and make sure that I answer any other clarifying questions. What I've noticed is if I push too hard, I want them to make a decision based on their comfort level, right? Because I have another guy in my market that's really, I mean, he's really good, but he's super pushy. And they'll cancel like a couple days after because they're like, dude, I really wasn't ready. Like I felt like I got pushed into this, and I just don't want that that going around my town too, that I'm pushy or
Yeah.
overbearing with stuff, because you'll lose a lot of listings that way. And I try to get a lot of referrals also. So I sell the way I'd want to be sold. And when
Yeah.
somebody's super pushy with me, I just don't like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome. No, I'm glad that you covered that, because I know a lot of agents are like, well, what do I do, or how do I say things?
just
And I think
accept
it also
it.
it
Yeah.
also depends also with the personality type that you're dealing with, or maybe the client, right? Maybe if it's like an older couple, I get that all the time, where it's like, you know what, we don't want to feel pressured or rushed,
Yeah.
and we don't want to have them feel that way.
Or they want to pray about it, right? Which is a totally valid
Yeah.
concern. I want them to be comfortable with it. Now the thing is if they say, "I'll give you a call tomorrow," the listing appointments I had the day prior are my very first calls that I'll make sure to get them to answer, and I can talk to them first before any other agent is following up with them again. And I have won maybe 25 listings by doing that. They're like, "Oh man, it was a toss of a coin between you and Paul," and we said the first person to call will get the listing, right? So I end up calling 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning and getting that listing. So,
Oh, that's a good tip. For
yep,
those of you that are listening, that's a good tip. Be the first one to call back
yep,
and be like, this
absolutely.
guy's really on it.
Yeah. I love listings. I sold 183 in my best year by myself, and then 363 with my team. So it was pretty good in 2021.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, as we're wrapping this up, what would you say are three things that agents need to be doing right now if they want to set more listing appointments?
You need to get the best data that you can. And I've used all kinds of data, and then I end up just sticking with Vulcan7 because it's the best data that you can get out there. Yeah, is it a little bit more expensive? Sure, but you'll cover that in one closing if you get that. And then you're also not like deflating your momentum, deflating your motivation, because there's so many times where I was using other systems and there would be wrong numbers. I'm like, damn, this sucks, man. Like, what the heck? Then you switch over to a new data platform, which for me was Vulcan7, and I end up knocking it out of the park, getting a hold of other people that other agents aren't because they don't have the same data. The other thing is like either I like doing a double or triple line dialer myself. So my data will come in from Vulcan and then get switched over to Mojo. So making sure that you have a good system that you're comfortable with. And then the third thing is I'm going to do four. Is that okay?
Yeah, more the
Okay.
better.
So the third thing is just making sure that you're practicing, right? And that's not role play. The best practice that you can have is in-game experience, right? So making sure that you're actually making those calls, because that's how you're going to get better. Going on those preview appointments or any listing appointment you can, especially when you're new or you're slow, because then you're going to learn the repetition and the objections and how to converse with people, right? And it's hard because you're asking for a big paycheck. So you want to make sure that you're coming the best you can. Dress really well when you go to the appointments. First impression is huge. And then lastly, empathizing, not being pushy, and not being too scripted. That people want to work with human beings, not a robot, and they want to know that you care. And if you're too scripted, they're like, oh God, here we go. Another guy that's just trying to sell me on something, right? So
Yeah,
those would be the most important things, you know. And then
perfect.
the last one is like get around other people that are doing
Mhm.
stuff like this. Because the better group, like my group coaching that I have, I learn a ton from these guys and we're constantly helping each other. We have accountability partners in there. So it helps us keep accountable, but we also get new ideas and keep ourselves motivated and excited to do it because we're part of a group that's doing it as well.
Yeah. And
Yep.
for anyone that wants to know more about your coaching, go ahead and share maybe your links where people can find you.
Okay. Yeah. If you look me up on Facebook, it's James Michener on Facebook, and then on Instagram, it's JR Michener. Feel free to email me at Michener, Michener, coaching at gmail.com. So Michener coaching at gmail.com, or give me a call. Probably send me a text would be better because it gets pretty busy. Would be 928-308-4700. And if you're interested, we'll send you a copy of our last training session so that you can take a look at it and see if it's a good fit for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. As always, I enjoy our conversations and everything that you mentioned. I know agents are going to be able to implement and hopefully set more listing appointments. Maybe they can DM me and let us know, hey, I implemented what James said and I'm kicking butt now.
Yep. Persistence and follow up. So,
Yes.
all right. Thank you,
Awesome.
Loida.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.